Hey, you've got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks. It's Thursday night, the 28th of January. Mike, somehow we made it all the way through the month of January already.
Which is nuts.
That kind of went super fast, didn't it?
It's going to be like 2020 again. All of a sudden, it's going to be 2022 before we know it.
Where'd the year go? Crazy. Right? Welcome. If you're joining us live, check in the chat room. Just let us know you're there. I see Ron and Brian and Ken out there. Joe's checking in as well. Let us know you're out there in the chat room. If you're listening on Twitch, I think I will see your comments in my chat as well. So check in on Twitch as well. Let us know you're listening out there. I don't have a gigantic audience on Twitch, but you never know. Maybe I should start working on that, Mike, is start working on my audience out. I don't know if this is the kind of content they want on Twitch. So if you're joining, if you're regular, welcome. We got a fun show ahead for you. Maybe a little change from where we've gone in the past. A little more commentary today. So come out, Mike. I have been digging using my Home Assistant dashboards that I showed on the show last week.
You convinced me to make one,
dude. They're super handy.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It was a great idea. So now I have one with my cameras from upstairs and my two buttons. My podcast lights right here that I use for work as well, and the light back there that's on the map.
Yeah, it's nice. I've got the dashboard running here and over here. So if I'm going to get up and I'm like, oh, I forgot to turn the studio lights off. Boom. Oh no, let me turn them back on. Boom. Like, it's funny how like late at night, that's so much more convenient than saying something.
Right.
You don't want to wake people up or whatever.
Definitely.
And I love I love the one that's got all the lights on it. So, I can bring that one up and then be like, I can see that Sarah is running Channels DVR right now on the Plex Shield. That's pretty cool. One of the things too, since I brought my battery indicators in on the Ring doorbell, like they've never gone below 99, and the doorbell itself now is at 89, which is the first time I've seen it that low. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of better watch for that just to kind of see what it does.
Right.
Instead of just finding out at some point. And I guess it's on the app, but I don't actually use that app very much on my phone because I'm here. I have a Windows app that shows me the cameras, when I need it. It's a handy app. I wonder if it's causing, I've had a little bit of bandwidth leak where like all of a sudden I'm using a ton of bandwidth, and it could be the Marine. That's very possible. It could be because we are literally watching everything streaming. That's possible too. Or this Windows app could be doing it. I have this Ring Windows app and it's constantly refreshing, and I'm kind of wondering if
you're pulling that from outside. You're not pulling it locally.
Grabbing it from the cloud, right?
It is, yeah.
Bring that down.
Yep.
So it's hard to give that up. I'm going to admit it's hard to give it up. I don't know if I'm pulling, 30 gig of that's kind of what my daily allowance. I had been running in the teens, and now I'm running like 35, 40. So let's say 10 gig. I'm probably not downloading 10 gig worth of pictures, especially, I don't know.
Right. Because it's not streaming the video. It's just pulling a picture every once in a while.
It is. It just refreshes the picture for about every 8 minutes or so. It just refreshes the picture. Tony, thanks for checking in. All right. Let's knock this thing out. Thanks for coming out tonight, everybody. Appreciate it. All right, let me do this thing. Oop, I grabbed the wrong thing. Oh. My video just started behind me, so I was hearing myself. All right, let's see if I can get this set right. I've set all right about 8 times. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 477, recorded on January 28th, 2021. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Carlson, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios. Here, Mike, are you done digging out? We got a foot of snow.
I was out there. I don't know
week.
how many times I snowblowed that one day where it just kept dumping snow. And then even the next morning, we just had enough that you had to get out there again with the shovel and scoop it all out. Yeah, it was a lot of snow. Kids were home with me Monday and Tuesday while I was working on snow days. It's been a week, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably the most snow we've seen in a while. That wasn't that uncommon when I moved to Nebraska 30 years ago, but thank God for global warming. And it has just really, I mean, Nebraska over the last 5 or 6, 7 years has been pretty reasonable. We used to get 40 or 50 inches a year, and I think we're down to like a foot. Now, we got a foot Monday, so we're well ahead of schedule for the snow, but it was good to get out. My neighbors are great. I don't know about yours, but mine, by 9 o'clock, everybody was out with their snow blowers helping each other out. So,
yep, that's the way our circle is as well.
Yeah, pretty nice. And it looked pretty for a while, and then we got a little snow on top of it, which made it even pretty because, you blow all that snow over and then it kind of looks crappy. And then we got a little snow on top of it to make it look nice. Of course, we won't blow it with the show notes. There you go. Which you'll post out at theaverageguy.tv. This would be HGG477. Mike, interesting week. We're talking about. Oh, before we do that, let's just say this: big thanks to our Patreon subscribers out there. Brian, I know I told you last week. I'll mention you because I know I told you last week I'd get your name in the list, and then I didn't. So in the show, Brian F, who's out there in chat, we'll get that updated here. I'll do it as Mike is talking tonight. But big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. Dwayne, who's one as well, is coming on the show here in a couple weeks, and so appreciate what you guys do. Thanks for supporting the show. Mike, this week a really interesting. We've talked crypto. We haven't talked crypto prices in a while, and we have in the sense that I kind of mentioned I took advantage of the run up, took some out. It was a pretty good decision. You never know. You never know how it's going to go. Good time. And then, of course, this week, oh, by the way, Dave Jackson from School Podcasting was talking to me on Saturday. He said, hey, how do I get into this? Like, if I wanted to just dabble in crypto, right, whatever, because everybody's talking about it. I said, well, I think the best way is Coinbase. And that's what I use. Do you have a Coinbase account?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, if you want to get from fiat to crypto, you're going to use Coinbase.
You're going to use it. PayPal is doing it, but they just started doing it 6 months ago, and everybody's opinion on PayPal is kind of weird.
Right.
I've really liked Coinbase. If you head out to theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase, Coinbase, $10 for you, $10 for me, which is super cool. And then lately, Mike, they've been offering you watch these little cheesy videos and answer a few questions, and you'll make, I think I made $3 on one and $6 on another. And it's not a lot, but what's great about it is you can leave it in that crypto. Because listen, you don't want to invest in things you don't understand. Let's start out with that. If you don't understand this stuff, you shouldn't be investing real money into it. But what I feel for a lot of people, if they want to, because they need something in it to kind of make it worthwhile. Well, you can make up to $50 in Coinbase watching these videos, they're super cheesy, answering these questions, and then you get like I said, $3, $6, maybe $10 in that particular crypto. On Coinbase, trading between most cryptocurrencies is free, so you wouldn't lose money on fees there. Give you an opportunity to kind of mess with it. So check that out, theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase. And again, you get 10, I get 10. It's not a bad way to jump in, and you can get it done. And Dave took advantage of that and sent me a note. And I said, thanks for doing that. So if you're interested in getting it done. Mike, it's been an interesting week because of course that big run up in Bitcoin, Ethereum has really been keeping up. So I think if you're watching Bitcoin, that's awesome. You might want to watch its little brother, Ethereum, because Ethereum actually pulled ahead a little bit, and then crypto has backed off. There's been some rumors, and that's really all they are. There's been some double spend rumors that have been going out. This is something that was talked about in the early days of Bitcoin. Mike, I don't know. You look into it a little bit. I think it's just rumors. Maybe it's just pump and dump techniques, right?
Well, yeah, it could be. So there's truth, and then there's exaggeration of the truth. And essentially, when I was looking into this for the show, so you guys know, because we've talked about it, the blockchain, when it was invented, was intended to fix the double spend problem of assets online. Right. If you think about when I send a PowerPoint presentation to Jim via email, that's a copy, right? I'm sending copies of things, and there's really no way to authenticate that you have the original version. Well, blockchain, through the way it's designed, was intended to fix that. So there's this big news article that breaks that there was a double spend on the blockchain for Bitcoin, and that that story was massive. Well, if you don't really understand the background of how things work, you might have thought that was a really big issue. But essentially, all that happens, and this happens quite often on the blockchain, is there can be the same transaction in like at the same block or two different blocks. But the reason that we have 6 confirmations, so for example, if you send some Bitcoin or receive some Bitcoin, you'll notice that typically each provider is different, but they'll require a certain amount of block confirmations before they consider that transaction to be valid. So I did it, and my transaction shows up in block number 1. 6 blocks later, they say, okay, if it has survived those 6 blocks, we're going to consider that a valid transaction. Well, so someone saw on the blockchain that there was one transaction that showed up twice. And the reason this happened was when they did the transaction, they actually chose to do it with the smallest fee possible. Well, when you do that, sometimes it can take a very long time for the miners to pick up that transaction and to put it into a block. And so they try to do and this is kind of a concept that's a little bit more complex, but a replace by fee transaction. And essentially that's where you're trying to say, okay, this is going way too slow. Let me just replace that with a higher fee. Well, they ended up both hitting the block. Well, what happens is at that point, sometimes there can be a split. And the split can go on for a few blocks until a certain history wins out amongst the miners. So these two splits, think of it as a fork, essentially, for a little bit of the blockchain, where these two run for a little bit until the miners all decide which block they want, and it'll invalidate one of those transactions, and it'll continue on. So, yes, it does happen. And technically there was a quote, double transaction, but there was not a double spend. That same Bitcoin was not spent in the end. Now, for about a few blocks there, technically, if you were to look at it, it would have. But that's why everyone talks about it's really important to look at a 6 block at least confirmation, if not longer. So there's a lot of kind of information out there. You can go and Google it. There's a lot of good articles out there, but go to a place that knows about how blockchains work and not just like the big news outlets, because they have no idea how blockchains work. So it's important to understand the dynamics of this before you get freaked out. And Jim, you might have a good point. Who knows if this was a little pump and dump scenario, someone trying to get news out there to freak everyone out and sell a little bit when you found a massive flaw. Because if honestly there was a double spend, I mean, the whole idea around blockchain would be debunked, right? Like, because that is the exact thing it was intended to prevent. But yeah, an interesting story nonetheless.
Well, it pulled Bitcoin down from the 38-40 range down into the 30s again. So 30, 31, 32. It's recovered back to about 33 as we're speaking right now. By the way, we're not financial advisors. This is not financial advice. This is, do not invest in things you don't understand. But it was interesting because in light of what's going on, this craziness with Reddit and GameStop, as I was reading up on this, the tactics that's going on. So again, this may be one you need to read up on. It's really popular in the news right now, where individuals have gotten together to create a tactic to go after larger investment firms who own this. And then they're doing things as if they're a gigantic entity and causing, like, they're doing it in concert. And the big institutional investors are all pissed because they're like, you should be able to do this. Well, they learned to do it with Bitcoin. Like, this is a tactic that has been going on in Bitcoin trading. And I say Bitcoin, I mean in the general sense of cryptocurrency. So let me use that term instead. In the general sense of cryptocurrency, Mike, this is a thing that's been going on for the longest time. You referred to it as the pump and dump.
Right.
And that's the simple phrase that we would use, where people would get together, hype it up, and they in concert they would start buying. And of course that would raise the price, and then get the hype going, and people would buy in. And then in a coordinated effort, they would all drop out at the same time. They would literally all sell at the same time. Now, it took discipline, because in those groups you couldn't break from the herd. Otherwise you would, like, it depended on everyone working together. I think in this GameStop scenario, I think it's kind of the same way, right? Have you looked at that?
I have. Well, and it's funny because the intentions here were almost even a little bit different. So there was the pump, but like really the dump part of this, when you think of a dump in crypto, you're dumping, you're pumping up the numbers and then you're selling at the high, and then it's going to drop in price, right? So with this story though, it's hilarious because, and so the Wall Street Bets is a subreddit essentially, and it's a subreddit that's just filled with guys making like crazy bets on stocks. I mean, like life-changing, all their life savings money into one stock, betting on it, and everyone's talking about whether it flops or it goes, and they use all sorts of options and derivatives and things like that. Well, it was essentially the Wall Street Bets, and all the people there found out that one hedge fund had really shorted GameStop, and that there were a few of them that had, and it kind of looks like to me, I don't know all the details here, but really what their intent was here is, let's stick it to the man, right? All these Wall Street guys kind of run the show. They have a short. And so they started just buying in droves GameStop stock, which everyone knows. I mean, GameStop is like fledgling. It's like Blockbuster, right? Like it's not a great business model right now, but all of a sudden this stock goes from $25 last week up to, I think it hit a max of like 400. And right now it's at about 190. And well, so the hedge funds are losing their shorts in this because they have a short in this and expecting, which a short in stocks, if you don't know, is expecting it to go down. So they have an agreement to buy it later. Right. And now the stock has skyrocketed, and it's all these people. So their dump wasn't necessarily to make money. Now I'm sure they're all going to make money. No, their dump was to stick it to Wall Street. And it is hilarious when you get all these people that Robinhood, actually the trading app, blocked trading on AMC and GameStop, two stocks that the community was doing this around, which has caused actually a lot of controversy. I think a lot of the details on how and why they did that are going to come out over the next coming days, and it's going to be interesting. But just what a fun. I've seen, and the memes around this are the best. Like there was one like, hey guys, we got to remember that a lot of real people were hurt in this whole thing. And all those people own multiple boats. Like, like all the Wall Street bigwigs are just getting hammered here. And it's funny to watch. And I think your reaction was totally right. Like Wall Street was freaking out. Number one, Bitcoin, they learned to do it from there, but they also have watched you guys do it. And now they just have the technology to also do it themselves, right? This is easy enough that you can get the average investors all around the world to do whatever you want. But there's all this talk about, is it market manipulation? And were the big drivers in all of this manipulating the market? And I just think it's entertaining, at least, to watch.
Oh, like they're not doing market manipulation. That's been the story.
Exactly. Right.
It's just they don't have the power at this point. And it's in this sense, like, again, you have to put these groups of people and money together to be able to do things like this. And it's kind of an amazing thing they could even get it done. And they did. Ryan Kirshner in the chat room said, right now, 311.
Is it really?
Well, I mean, these things catch fire. This won't be the last time. Now that people have seen how this happens, it's just going to go farther underground. So, when this was happening in crypto, there was all kinds of, Discord was actually a center for a lot of this activity, that people would put these Discord groups together. And then, it was a coordinated, I don't want to say attack, but it was a coordinated effort, right, to get these kinds of things done. So Wall Street, welcome to the land of crypto trading, because you just got pwned on that one. Like, oh, yikes. And this won't be not the first, maybe the first really famous one. Probably won't be the last. I think we'll see on that. But of course, all that technology going into it, kind of super interesting. So again, we're not financial advisors. This is not advice to don't go buy GameStop. All right. So let's let that be that. Mike, I got a notice today. I got an email from Apple, and they said, hey, good news. Your Mac's going to arrive on the 5th. And it had been the 12th, right?
All right. A whole week early. There we go.
No, pretty great, right? I mean, what under promise and over deliver. That's pretty great. So we'll have it on.
Is that next Thursday or Friday? Will we have it for the show?
Oh, That's a good question. Let's take a peek at that. Today's the 28th. It'll be Friday after the show. So we'll have it. We will have it in time for when Aaron Lawrence is on. So that'll be great.
Perfect.
One of the things, my picture's been jittery. And I thought really, and most people didn't notice it. We did. We've seen it kind of jitter from time to time right before the show was jittering on the bottom, kind of driving me nuts. I had an extra C920 that I used for work, so I swapped them tonight and caused all kinds of problems, including a blue screen on the studio PC and some other things. And I'm like, oh, maybe this thing hurt us last week and is like striking. Is there a chance that maybe AI is built in and it knows?
It's gonna replace me and watch. He still has a week to wait. I'm gonna start just freaking out on him during this week.
It's gonna make my life hell. So swapped cameras, still having the shaking camera issue. So it's like, maybe this is coming at a really good time. Because I think we're seeing the end. But okay, that being said, the studio PC is still going to be here. And Mike, I don't sell anything. I hold on to everything I have. And it's the studio PC is going to get moved down to something. So I kind of asked you this question this week is like, okay, in my environment, I've got a Drobo. So we're not going to do anything there. By the way, can I use Drobo as a time machine location?
Is it direct attached?
It's a NAS.
Oh, it's NAS. Depends on if it has options. A lot of those like Synology, I'm guessing Drobo, they have a setting in there to make that network attached share, whatever it is, a time machine share. It has to be formatted in a certain way that Apple recognizes it.
Okay. I have to look
yeah.
I'll have to look into that because my other option, Ed reminded me on Sunday when I was lighting candles with him. He said, well, make sure you do Time Machine right away. Like, make sure you get that set up. And
it is nice.
Yeah. I was like, I'm a backup guy, and I thought, maybe the Drobo can do that. So I'll look into that this week. But so I have an Unraid box. It's a Core i3 530, so pretty low power, pretty old, right? That's a pretty old computer. The Media Center box, which I call it that, it's really not that anymore. But I used to run Plex and some of those kinds of things on it. That's a 540. So again, same kind of generation. Those are both first generation Core i3 chips. Still cranking away, dude.
Wow.
Still cranking away. Like I said, I get every ounce of value out of everything. The Studio PC it's a Core i7 4770. So a pretty nice chip in its day. It's got 16 gig of RAM on it, but I can upgrade it to 32, which I'm thinking to do it for $60. I could put 32 gig in there. Just two more chips. I actually found the exact model of the chips that I bought, so they would all match. Should I migrate my Unraid box over? It's not particularly like, it's in one of those LAN cases that doesn't have a lot of drive space. I mean, it's a big old box, but it wasn't necessarily built. It was kind of built to house big old GPUs and not hard drives, right? So I got this extra PC, Mike. Give me some advice. What would you do with some of the extra equipment? Chat room, I'm looking for your advice as well. What should I do with this thing? What could I do with this thing?
Yeah. So what I would do personally is I would take, and so you already have a pretty rock solid router, but I'm going to kind of start from the other machine actually. So I would actually take one of those Core i3 first gen i3s, and I would throw that and make it a PFSense box. I actually use an i3 box for my PFSense. Now, the only thing about it is power draw is a little bit high because it doesn't use much CPU, but even idle, those are a little bit higher than you would want from something like a router. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there, but I think it's worth it. So I would utilize one of those old i3s because I think you would end up, if you move your Unraid box, which I think you should do, that would free up an i3 machine, right? So that could be an option for someone to do with that i3 machine if you wanted to. For Unraid, I think it all depends on what kind of Dockers you want to run on there. For me, really the only CPU intensive thing I run is Plex. And since you're not running that, you're running channels. It's like, is it worth it? Is there something cooler than Unraid? But here's what I'm thinking is I think you should actually make that an Unraid box. So take the Studio to PC, make it Unraid, but run a Windows VM that utilizes most of those cores and keep a GPU in there passed through to that VM. Then you can run that thing just like it is now, except for it has all of the extra features of an Unraid box. I think, I've seen a lot of people do that, and it works really well. I've actually been thinking about, if I didn't game as much as I did, and I still could game through a VM, but if I didn't game as much, I would totally make my daily driver machine just an Unraid with a Windows VM on top of it. And then that way you still get all of the other Docker and access to all the drives, and it works really well. That, I don't know, that to me sounds like it'd be a cool option, especially because it doesn't have to be your daily driver. But, if you need to plot something real quick, you've got a VM right there still with, your GPU. All your plotting stuff works. If you do any mining, you wouldn't lose anything that you have now. You would only gain stuff as part of the extra Unraid features. I don't know. What do you think?
Would you recommend that I jump from 16 to 32 gig of RAM? $60 investment. Is that a smart way to go?
Yeah. If you're doing a VM,
yeah. Okay. I love your idea of run Unraid at the bottom and then have it I don't just have to have one Windows instance. I could run several with 32 gig of RAM. I mean, I could run a couple of VMs on that thing if I needed to for various purposes. In other words, if I wanted to use the GPU, I could have it set up where the GPU passes through. I could have just a kind of a small version of Windows if I wanted to run something light on there from time to time, right? There's some things I could, right? There's some things I could do with that just to set up some, I could allocate just the right amount of memory or the right amount of hard drive space to each one kind of based on their usage to make sure I'm not overbuying or underserving a particular box, right? The one drawback to that is it just doesn't have a lot of hard drive space. Like I do have in today's box, I bought that IC dock 3 bay in a 2 bay slot, right? That's in there. So I've got 3 in there. I've got a spot in the box where I could do this. Or I've got one of those big, tall Cooler Master cases that the current Core i3 is in. Do I swap them? Is that one of these, right? Is that one of these things? Because I've got 3 bay plus a 2 bay on the top. Like it's got a lot of slots in there to put things in. Do I use this time to make the swap, use that Cooler Master for
definitely. I say you take whatever you're going to put into Unraid. So take Studio PC guts and put that in whatever your biggest case is hard drive wise, right? Whichever one can hold the most. But I think on the VM side, it would make a lot of sense for you to, because especially on 32 gigs, I run 16 gigs on my Unraid, but that's because the only VM I run is Home Assistant, and that only needs 2 gigs. But I rarely run over 60, 75% on my RAM on that machine, but I'm running a lot of Dockers. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool. You could start playing around with things, especially with the more processing power, speed wise. You could start getting into, Nextcloud if you want to mess around with it, Bitwarden, some of those other Dockers for self-hosting some of your own stuff.
Yeah, and then just remote in to the Windows instances that I'm going to use there. Make it very utilitarian, right? Yeah,
well, that's a good point. I forget that you're probably going to be remoting in because you're going to run everything from your iMac. But if you pass a GPU through, you can plug a monitor into that, have a keyboard mouse also passed through, and you could run that literally Unraid box as a full, almost bare metal experience, right? Because if you pass through a GPU, you'll have the output. You can plug in a mouse and keyboard via USB, or alternatively, you still use the GPU for a screen, so it's more responsive. And then you could do mouse without borders again, or I forget the name of the version we're going to be using now for you because you have a Mac involved. Synergy, I think, is the name of the app. We could use Synergy, and then you could still use your one keyboard mouse. There's a lot of options here, but I would start with just one Windows VM and give it a bunch of space and see if that, because unless you have a reason to have different Windows 10 instances running, you could probably run them all. Everything you would need to run in Windows, just run it in one main Windows VM and let that go.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking, I was just thinking options, say I wanted to run, I've got a bunch of low power boxes. So I have a AMD I think it's a 6300 chip, so it's a really low power chip, and it's sitting in a shuttle case that was actually an old pfSense router to begin with, and I think I'm going to bring it back. Like,
Nice.
it was a great little pfSense box. It's currently serving as a backup for my IOSafe drive, so it really just is the host for the IOSafe drive. It's a box I didn't touch very much before I started doing this chia mining stuff, but that would make a nice pfSense, because I kind of want to get back at that line. I am kind of considering, Mike. I've got these two Core i3s, a 540 and a 530, and I am kind of thinking, I did sell some items this week on eBay. Like, I got rid of some things. It's a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about selling them. Well, maybe I throw them on there, just get rid of them. It's right now, it's easier than recycling. But I am thinking about downsizing and taking some, I have like 7 PCs going down here in various configurations, right? And you're like, yeah, I don't know if I need them all. I could probably do with a few less. So moving some of those downstream into, onto this Unraid box, and taking advantage. Certainly, I think I have a 512, maybe 256, but I right now I'm running a 120 gig cache drive in my current. Well, if I take the studio PC, that's going to get a bigger cache drive. Can I do 2 cache drives? Could I put both?
And you can even do, if you really want to make this drop dead simple, you can just, because you run this on an SSD, right? Currently, the studio PC, Windows installed on an SSD.
Yes.
You can just pop that out, throw it in Unraid, not make it part of the array or the cache. There's a plugin called Unassigned Devices, and you could just literally boot the VM from that, and you would never have to reinstall. It'll just pop right up just like you're running now. There's a few settings you have to change, but it's literally just taking that SD card out, SD, putting it in there, and telling the VM in Unraid to boot from that drive. Pretty simple.
Yeah. Although this image is a couple years old.
Kind of want to just nuke it and start over.
Yeah.
Probably a better idea.
Yeah. I'm kind of a guy that I don't customize anything. So, it's the data that I store somewhere else, and then I just blow it away, start over, basically reinstall some apps, and kind of move on from there. So, okay. Well, that's kind of a nice option. That means I could, move my Home Assistant piece over there. It's going to be on a pretty nice, instead of having just 4 cores to manage, I'll have 8. I have plenty of memory in that thing. It could grow and expand. Nice little chip that's in there. It's not the overclocked version, but it's fine. That's a good board. Move it into a better case, kind of suited for it. That kind of, that like, almost like a new build in some regards, right?
Yeah.
Kind of going in. I do have a 750 or 850 modular power supply that's actually I'm using as a monitor stand at the moment. It's brand new, still in the box. The plastic's still around it. I bought it a year ago it was a Woot deal. They were basically giving them away. It also gave me a chance maybe to upgrade. Those power supplies are older, and so it gave me a chance to upgrade the power supply too.
Not a bad idea right now.
Yeah.
That thing will run, Unraid perfectly. I'm still, we had a question on our Facebook group actually about, if building an Unraid box, kind of what would you put in it? And we were talking about, consumer versus enterprise gear. And, for all the things we talk about, like power consumption, some of these older things are perfect for something like Unraid, right? Like an i7 3770 like I run is perfect for what I need. Now I would benefit from a newer Intel chip just because of the new version of QuickSync. The updated QuickSync would do a lot better for Plex rendering, and that's really the only reason I'm thinking about upgrading Unraid in the future at some point is to get QuickSync in there. If I get my 1060 back, my brother-in-law is borrowing that now, so I'll get that probably back in the year whenever 30 series cards come back in stock, and so then I have a full GPU dedicated to Plex, but that is still a power hog for something like Plex. So there's a lot of things to consider here, but this type of hardware that you're talking about is kind of repurposing. I think is some of the best ways to get started with Unraid. Number one, you already have it, so it's free. You may need to upgrade RAM like you're doing, but if not, like run it and see how it works for you.
Yeah.
The most expensive part of any Unraid build are the hard drives. Like we all know that, right? Like building up a lot of hard drive space is expensive.
Well, sort of. One of the deals I found, I bought this Drobo on eBay that had drives in it, and I kept the drives and resold the Drobo for a little bit more than I paid for it. I pulled a Uyghur, and
So proud of you. That's
dude, you've taught me well. So now that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm going to Synology and Drobo and in QNAP, and I'm looking for folks who are selling their NAS drives with drives in it that have 3 or 4 terabyte drives. Everybody's kind of enamored by the 8 and 10 terabytes that are out right now. But if you can get those for a good price, and then just turn around and resell the device, I don't necessarily need those. Listen, I did it once. It's not like I'm going to make a living out of this, or that I can do it a lot anyway. But it was kind of fun while it happened. Mike, one of the things that's interesting though, okay, so as I was doing some research on all my boxes here, thinking like, okay, what do I have in them? I've got this Dell Optiplex 990. That's probably a 2012 box. It's a Core i7. It's got a nice CPU in it, but it's still the 3 gig. The SATA connections are still 3 gig connections. It's not 6, right? And then I was like, oh,
which the majority of my Unraid ports are actually that same way.
Yeah, and I was like, I was looking at the 530 that's running Unraid, or 540, and I said, that's an older box. Yep, those are 3 gig. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if my media center that's got 8 gig of RAM in it, it's kind of it's actually running the audio for this podcast right now. And it does a great job. It was my early builds that I did way back in the day. 3 gig. And I'm like, crap, I didn't realize I was throwing all these drives in there and maybe hampered. Do you think Unraid, I don't have the greatest speed on Unraid, and Unraid is not the speediest thing in the world to begin with. Do you think I'm hampered will I see much of an improvement of moving on to a motherboard has 6 gig throughput for SATA?
Does the board have at least one 6 gig, the one you're working with?
No, okay, the media center one, or the
like
studio?
my board I'm using has 2 6 gig ports, and all the rest are 3.
No,
so they're all 3. I think you're going to notice that on your SSD cache drive for sure. But the one thing you could do is you get a PCIe SATA expansion slot that has the 6 gigabit SATA, and I think that would be an easy way. I don't notice it on my array, right? Because my array of spinning Rust, I honestly don't care how fast that goes. It's fast enough to read Plex files off of. Right. But as far as all the other items, most of my stuff is on the cache. All my apps, so all my Dockers are running off a cache, an SSD, which is on a 6 gig port. So for the other ones, it's not terrible. I think you would notice a difference if you stepped up, but I think you're not going to be like, oh, this sucks if you went with the 3 gigabit ports.
Yeah. Or what I have today. They are noticeably slower. We tell people, and it's a show. I try to be the average guy, right? I try not to, one, it's expensive to have all the newest, latest, and greatest stuff, right? But I've tried to make do with. I have a lot of it, but I've tried to make do with what I have, stretch things out as far as I can. Moving on to the studio PC, consolidating, so to speak. Would allow me to do that. I could even maybe, because I have to remember to do what I do, where we send the stream out to a Spreaker, because that's where it's live on Spreaker right now. I don't know if anybody listens there anymore, but I have a special hardware jack that I use to make that thing happen. If I did take that down and stop using it for that, I would need to find a way to replace that process. So I'd have to either virtually or physically find a way to make sure I can take this down. And I could do it with audio hijack. That's not the right name. There's another term. But I don't like doing software sound things because they let you down. They crash, they stop working, you forget to turn them on. Since I've had this it's really literally a hardware jumper. It just comes out of the speaker. It goes, into the microphone. It's really just a cable, and it works every time, and it never not works, and it doesn't crash. Like it always works. So I have to think that through. That I could probably use the sound off the motherboard, right, and pass that through to a Windows instance.
It's a great question. I know splitting up stuff on the motherboard can be different, can be a little bit difficult passing that through to a VM. At least that it's that way with USB devices. You have to find, what groups, I'm forgetting the name, but there's certain groups they're assigned to hardware wise, and you get to split those. So, I mean, I'm sure it could be done. They could find a way. I'm not sure how though.
No, just the things. It's those decisions you make that have all these unintended consequences. Right. When you're like, oh crap, I didn't think all the way through that. And since I'm podcasting at home, now I have to think, okay, I have to support the system that I use for Gallup. So I got to kind of figure out how to get that done. Anyway, so a great conversation. If you got any ideas, if you heard some things in there, some things you want to tell me, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Drop it in the comments there on YouTube, although it'll probably be too late on YouTube by the time you watch it. But love to have your ideas, some things. I kind of went through most of what I have down here in the studio as far as gear goes. I am, Mike, kind of looking forward to just setting up a new, I got the email from Apple today, and they were like, do you want some help? And so I think you get some free setup calls or something that,
oh, nice.
Along those lines, like, yeah, and I was like, I don't know. So before the show, I bought the final cable that I needed, final audio or final video cable for it. And so we're gonna run DVI. These monitors that I really like are DVI. They're a little bit older. They'll be fine for now. Maybe I'll upgrade to something better, down the line. But I really like these monitors. They'll go into the Mac, one via HDMI, one via the Thunderbolt port. And I've been watching tons of videos on how to set these things up. So we'll see.
You are set. You are ready to go.
We'll see how it goes. It comes February 5th. We'll have it for a show coming to you. Mike, you've been working a little bit on trying to get your computers to sleep. This has never been, like my kids, this has never been anything I've ever been good at. Like I'm not good. My PCs run all the time. I can't imagine the amount of power I waste on this. It sounds like you're trying to tackle some of that.
Well, yeah. So this was an issue that I've had for a very long time, but I never had any reason to solve it. But when we redid this basement, what was that, 2 weekends ago, right? We redid this little area over here. I found the watt meter, right? I was like, oh, found that thing. I had been looking for that for a long time. Well, so I plugged it in I point over here. That's where the plug is. And it's everything on this desk plugged in over there to that watt meter. And man, I just noticed like it is extremely high when this PC I'm on right now is running. And especially with the power settings I have on it, I have it to be max, just give me all the raw power, right? Do it. I got a video card in here and I've got 4 monitors on the table. And so it runs. And so I would notice when this thing was asleep, it was like, oh, wow, that's saving like 180 watts, right? Continuous. Well, so my problem had always been that this machine would wake itself up and wouldn't really go to sleep. So if I never hit the actual sleep button, either in Windows or on the box, it wouldn't go to sleep. And then it would wake itself up. Even if I put it to sleep, I would come down and I can always tell because it's glowing yellow when it's awake, or else the box is black, and it would be glowing yellow most mornings when I would come down. And so it was kind of driving me nuts. But like I said, I was like, yeah, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't bother me. But then once you have a watt meter on there, you're like, oh, dang, like that is just throwing money down the drain all the time. So I did some, basic just research. I had forgotten the command to run on the command prompt to just show. But if you guys are curious, or if you're having the same issue, the problem I was trying to solve was, okay, what is preventing my computer from going to sleep? And it's extremely simple to figure that out. Run command prompt as an administrator and just do power CFG, all lowercase, all one word, power CFG. And this will be in the show notes as well. // requests. And when you run that, you'll get an output showing you all the different things that have requested to keep your computer asleep or prevented sleep recently. So if I run that now, I see things like I've got a lot of Google Chrome stuff open. So obviously with whatever I'm doing in Chrome right now, it's going to prevent it from going to sleep. And there's some other files that are open. But if you run this when everything else is closed, like it would be, I noticed that I had 2 items under system and they were legacy kernel caller. I was like, great, that tells me absolutely nothing. I don't know what legacy kernel caller is, but it's what's causing my issue. So I was like doing some Googling around and I was finding people there was video cards that could be legacy system caller. There was a bunch of different things that could be. This is interesting though, because it's at the exact same time that I'm also, you guys remember I asked the community for alternatives to Camtasia software because I was having issues with Camtasia. Well, turns out that when I got through the support system at Camtasia, they came back and they said, hey, we see that you have a Go XLR plugged in and that's not a supported device. Try unplugging that and see if that works. Well, for me, the Go XLR is all my audio that I use to record these screencasts. I'm like, well, honestly, if that is the issue in the end, I'm going to need to get a refund because this is my audio input. Yes, I could do just the USB from the microphone, but that's not my workflow. So if that's not going to work. So what I tried doing just as an intermediate step was like, I wonder if I just close and my wife went to bed and all my lights turn off on me. I wonder if I close the Go XLR app, but leave the actual mixer plugged in. I wonder what will happen. Well, so when I closed that down, closed the app and left the mixer up, almost everything still works on the mixer. The volume works, all the inputs, outputs, those work. But Camtasia was fixed. It was like Camtasia worked perfectly. And the only thing Camtasia cared about, let me get my lights back on. This is going to drive me nuts. I got to open of course I had just closed my power panel here that Jim, and luckily I did what Jim did and I have Home Assistant right in front of me. So I can just,
it is kind of handy to have a Home Assistant dashboard, like right in front of you.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Just dedicated. It's
right there. Yeah. But anyway, so I had found out that not running the Go XLR app helped Camtasia. So at the same time, I was like, I wonder if the Go XLR, it's not a video capture device, but it's an audio device. I wonder if that's what it is. Sure enough, when I close the Go XLR app, the legacy kernel caller goes away and my computer goes to sleep. So my solution now is really just keep the Go XLR app closed. Now, there's a few things if you have a Go XLR, just to let you know, that don't work, like your mute buttons. Apparently, those run through the app. But as far as the sliders, and once you have it set, all the mixing around of audio, that still works. So it was a good alternative for me. I'm like, well, I don't need the Go XLR app as long as everything still works on the mixer. So if you are looking through that, the legacy kernel caller can be kind of a search. It can be kind of a mystery, a little hunt around to find out what device is doing that. But at least it tells you and puts you down the right path of something that's keeping your computer asleep or keeping it awake. I had actually pulled out my Elgato HG60 Pro because I was like, well, hey, video capture device. I have one of those installed in my computer. I wonder if that's the issue. But it wasn't this. So I still need to put this back in my machine now that I know that this wasn't the issue. So put that back in and there we go. So I'm curious why Go XLR is causing that kind of issue. I don't know what it is because the app can be off and the mixer still works. So maybe they have some bugs to work out in their software, especially with it causing issues with Camtasia. I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, one of those troubleshooting problems. Like you're like, man, what is causing this? And you just got to kind of go through all the stuff. And you think, it's probably not that. No, it probably is. Yeah. If you're saying it's not that, it probably is. That's always the way it works out for me. I've kind of learned in troubleshooting, just disconnect everything or just start one at a time, start pulling stuff, right?
Yep.
Just see what's causing it. So
the one at a time thing is usually my go-to method. And, I know that USB hubs cause issues with certain devices. So I thought it was the hub. I tried a few things before I got down to figuring it out. It was the Go XLR after all of that.
Super cool. Super cool. This week, we'll wrap it with this. This week, you can't see it there. This week or last week, actually, I had a hard drive that I bought from Go Hard Drives. Or I guess it's Go Hard Drive, no S, goharddrive.com. Have you ever looked at their site? I shared in the Discord group a link to a page somebody put together that goes out and kind of crawls all of the hard drive prices, and you can put certain criteria in, certain sizes, new, used, whatever. Crawls Amazon, crawls eBay, crawls all these sites. Go hard drive, and this is one Kevin Schoonover has always said he likes. And so it's just like it sounds, goharddrive.com. And they were a couple bucks cheaper on a 4 terabyte drive that I picked up directly from them. Normally I do it through Amazon, but in this case, I bought it through their eBay store. I've been doing some eBay. I've been on eBay way too much. By the way, it's super dangerous. Like,
yeah,
eBay is super dangerous. Like, anyways, so it came broken. I mean, it just didn't. It wouldn't. I pulled it out. It was in a new bag, a new static bag. Like it was. It looked new. I think they're refurbs. But by the way, it was like $50 for a 4 terabyte drive, which is a pretty good price, right?
Yeah.
So I pinged them and said, hey, this thing was DOA. And they immediately created an RMA and had a label, threw it on there. I mailed it off to them. It came back today. And so it didn't take, mail's a little slow.
Yeah.
So not their fault. But it came back today. So pretty happy customer with it. I was a little bummed it was bad right out of the chute, but when you're buying a refurb drive, those things kind of happen. Amazon, getting them from Amazon is faster, but I'm going to pay $7 to $10 more that way. And when you're buying as many drives as I've been buying lately, you just might want to save a few bucks. So if you're interested, I think I put it in I forget which group I put it in. If you're buying hard drives and you want the link, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. This site's super cool. You can just go to it and see, and they kind of rank it by price per terabyte. So it's kind of cool. You can kind of see, okay, right now the 3 and 4 terabyte drives. Actually, 3 is the sweet spot. 4 is a little bit more expensive. 8 and 10 is, just kind of average. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and I will shoot that link back to you if you want to take a look at it. A couple reminders of some shows coming up here next week. Joe from the Ultimate Dashboard. We talked about Joe last week, actually the last 2 weeks. Joe's going to come on. He's kind of a gadget guy too, and so he's going to come on and talk about the Ultimate Dashboard for Home Assistant. Erin Lawrence is back the week after that to come in. She's been doing some van life stuff, and she's got a lot. She's got some gadgets. Let's just put it that way. She's super popular right now. John Maddox from Channels will be with us on the 18th, and he's one of the three employees of Channels and one of the major developers for it. So it's going to be super cool. John's a good guy. I talked to him early, and so he's going to be on. Jay Madison's join us on the 25th, and Jay's got some great gear, and so you're going to want to come around for that. Then Dwayne Johnson's coming back the 4th of March to update us on some. Yeah, he's been doing a ton of gadget stuff. So he wanted to talk about the Duo, the Microsoft Duo that came out, and I was like, Dwayne, nobody's talking about that. Nobody cares about that device. So it's like, so you got some other stuff. So he'll have some stuff indeed. I think Wi-Fi 6 is a big topic right now, and he's been doing some stuff with Wi-Fi 6. So I think we'll have him on to talk about it as well. So we got some guests coming. We'll still be bringing some of our own stuff, but we've had a nice run since Christmas of kind of getting we had a lot of stuff going on.
We did. You can tell it's a good time to get guests in though, because it's a shorter show tonight. We were starting to get low on our own content. So good thing we got some guests to come back in and refuel us.
It's hard to keep up with it every week.
Yeah.
It's really hard to keep up with all that stuff every week. I built the dashboards, and then I'm kind of like, well, they're built. What do I do next? I did, and I spent more money over the holidays on gear than I spent in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need to slow down a little bit. I'm having too good of a time.
I need a new Switch. That's the only thing that I've been waiting to buy. If you guys I got that discount, not discount. I got a great deal on a Cisco Switch. It's a 48 port PoE switch. The faceplate was all mangled, but I got it for like $30 and it worked great. Now I have to program it with Cisco language from the command line, which is not fun to do because I don't know that. I'm not a Cisco guy, but I learned it enough just to get it programmed. But there's certain ports that are now only negotiating at 100 megabit per second, and so some things are going on with that. And I really want the Unify switch, but man, I can't justify right now when this switch is doing its job. Okay, there's 48 ports on it. When I find one that's negotiating only at 100, I just move it to the next port because I'm definitely not utilizing all 48. But man, a new Unify PoE 24 port. At some point, I'm going to pull the trigger on that. It's going to be great. It's going to integrate greatly with my 2 Unify APs I have in the house as well.
Yeah. Nice. I do, I was thinking about putting a Ring cam in the back, but I don't want that thing going off all the time. Like I don't, when we're out there. So I think I'm going to look for 2 wired cameras.
Like RTSP ones you can pull into side down or something?
Right.
Great idea.
So I think I'm going to look at it. I'll mount one on a power. I've got a pole in the back that I can mount it on that'll get the whole backyard. And I still have to figure out where to put the one up front. But the goal will just be not so much security, but more just so I can see outside.
Yeah, that's
right?
more what mine are for. I mean, hopefully I never have to use them for their intended purpose of security. Right, hopefully it's all just me, like right now, being able to see, out back and out front what's going on.
Yeah. I do want to go wired. The wireless experience wasn't great in the end. It was messing up what was going on with the Ring cams and some other things. So I do think I'm to that point where I want to run some wire and do power over Ethernet and run them out that way. So
great way to do it. So we might be talking new switch for you sometime soon to maybe do some PoE, at least maybe a little 8-port. I have one of those in the attic. Yeah. I have a little tiny TP-Link 8-port PoE switch in my attic where all those cables run up to, and then I just run one cable down into the main server. And that's how I power most of my cameras are based off just that one PoE switch up there. And those are cheap nowadays.
Yeah. I'll have to. Yeah, I won't. I'll just have to. It won't be a lot. It'll be a camera out front, a camera out back. I don't know if I'm up there running wire, maybe 2 on the sides.
I'll come over on a Sunday. We'll have some candles, and run some cable.
I like it. We'll have to do it in the spring before it gets hot up there in the attic.
Sure. Right? I hate summertime attic cable runs. I've done it too many times.
You'd be the expert at it though. You've run a lot more than I have. Couple reminders on the way out. One huge thank to our Patreon subscribers. And Brian, you see, I got you loaded in there. You're the first one because I actually see a mistake in there. I'll have to fix that. But we appreciate our Patreon subscribers. If you want to join us on Patreon, you can do that as well. theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. If you want to get jump in and be part of the group, that just kind of helps us, helps me buy some of the stuff that we do here. If you want to join the Discord group, I mentioned that as well, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Don't forget, you can leave us a message. If you've got something crazy you'd like to say, I'll take just about anything. Send me or call, leave a message. That's probably the better way to say it. HomeGadgetGeeks.com. So it's easy to remember. HomeGadgetGeeks.com. There's a microphone bottom right-hand corner. Jump on there, leave me a message. We'll play it right here on the show. We'll play it up front too, so you don't have to wait through the whole thing to hear it. You can contact me, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. You can find Mike over on Twitter most days at Uyghur Tech. I am at Jay Collison if you want to do it that way. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube right now, just click the like button down there. Could you? We'll wait for you. Go ahead. I mean, you want to do it, so just click it. Like, it's not that hard. Go ahead. Like I see you. Go ahead. Right down. Okay, thank you. Thanks for doing that. And subscribe to the live page while you're at it, so that you can get notifications whenever we go live. Of course, theaverageguy.tv, both the web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And of course, that's Christian. I think I'm recording with him on February 5th. So we got another Cyber Frontiers coming up here. I'm hoping for. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting, maplegrovepartners.com. We appreciate him doing all that he does to make sure that we are super safe and super secure. And then don't forget, if you want to try out crypto, don't use your own money, for God's sakes. Just don't. Head out to don't use I'm telling you, don't do it. TheAverageGuy.tv, don't take a mortgage, certainly, for it. Or trade in your 401k. TheAverageGuy.tv/Coinbase. Give it a try, $10 when you get in. And then you can earn up to $40 or $50 in these little challenges. They're kind of fun. It's like playing games. Come on, you're playing games on your phone. So get it done. TheAverageGuy.tv/Coinbase. We'll be back next week, same time, theaverageguy.tv/live. If you're listening live, thanks for joining us. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Wow, I haven't done an hour show, Mike, in forever.
Oh, we haven't. It's been a very long time. Joe, actually, that's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you. By the way, I'll check out Brocade. The Aruba ones, I don't know who mentioned it here. It might have been you. Someone put me onto Aruba. I was looking at those as well. I need something that has the as easy as interface as Unify. After dealing with Cisco this whole time, like I'm done with command line. So I don't know if either of those have a good self-hosted, no-fee interface. But that's what I love about Unify is I already run the controller here, and it's just so easy. Anyway.
No, it's good. It's good. I'll have to figure out what cameras I'm going to do, because I think that's the route I'm going to go. Again, I was going to spend, I was going to get a new Ring backdoor or a stick-up cam.
It was a price
put out there, and then I was like, no, I think I should be able to find a pretty inexpensive.
Oh yeah. So the one I love is it's actually on sale. I might grab a few of these.
Where are you looking?
Amazon. So this is the one. Man,
what's the name?
Let me. I'll just put it in chat over here.
Sweet.
It's Amcrest. So it's their Ultra HD outdoor security. It's only $49. And these are. I love them. I think they have really good picture.
Oh, you know what? Your link won't show up in chat because I haven't made you administrator.
In private chat, it won't.
Oh, in private chat, I get it. I thought you were gonna. I got it. No, I got it. Holy crap!
That's a long link for some reason.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, because it even tells me this. You last purchased this on March 20th. So those are only $49 right now. For everyone following along at home, it's the Amcrest 5 megapixel Ultra HD outdoor security IP turret PoE camera. Whew, that's a mouthful.
Here, I'll get a more reasonable link and throw it in.
Oh, okay. Well, Joe's always got to outdo me. He's running the Amcrest 8 megapixel. That's probably the upgraded version. That's probably why this one is cheaper. I wonder how much.
But the other. Well, do I have to run power to it? Isn't the whole idea that it has power over Ethernet?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why?
This one you're showing says DC 12 volt power.
No, it says PoE.
Yeah, but look at the picture.
What?
Look at the picture that's like the fourth one down on the left.
Oh, I think you can power it with DC 12 volt if you want.
Oh, okay.
Or PoE.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of those have those pigtails on them.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I could actually. There's two. Did this thing move? Can you? Or is it fixed?
Motorized?
Yeah.
No, it's fixed.
Fixed. Okay.
Yeah. I think motorized, you're gonna start paying a lot of money.
Yeah. What's the angle? 103 degrees. Okay. Yeah, because I really
right, something like that. I mean, I think that one's pretty good. But something where it's $49 for. Yeah. I wonder how much the 8 make. Now he's got me curious. Looks like they only have about $108. Amcrest Ultra HD 4K.
And just as motorized indoor cameras aren't bad.
Right. Outdoor ones are where you get expensive.
So, Ron, let me answer your question. Ron says, kind of curious, Jim or Mike, you ever got a 3D printer? Still, I'm not. Listen, I appreciate what you do with your 3D printer, but I would never. It would be a serious dust collector for me. I've thought, we had you on, we talked about it. I really want to. It's something I really want to do, but I just I'm having a hard time justifying it. It's just like, I don't know if I'd print that many things.
I would probably use it a ton for ham radio. That's what makes me want to get it. There's so many little connector pieces and that I want to make. But I'm kind of in the same way. And plus, you guys all know me. I would dive way too deep into that thing, and that's the last thing I need is a really deep hobby. I already have ham radio and all this extra stuff, and I've been gaming more, and and I'm doing a lot more hockey. Got a tournament this weekend, so a lot more hockey time. So I just don't have time for another hobby.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'll have to find it. My voice is going, so I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for if you're live. Sorry we didn't keep you entertained all evening like we normally do, but we'll be back next Thursday.
See you guys next week.
I'm running out of voice. Mike, hang out for a second.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys. Have a good evening. Go do something fun. I mean, I know this was fun, but go do something fun. We'll see you later.